We spend so much time talking about the code, the data, the algorithms. But today, we're going past all that. We're going deep into the philosophy of AI, tackling the four fundamental questions that this technology is forcing all of us to confront.
And let's just start with the big one, the question that hangs over this entire conversation. It really sets the stakes. Are we just building a better, smarter tool? Or are we accidentally writing the first chapter of humanity's final story?
So, to get to the bottom of that, we're going to break it down into four parts. First, what is an AI really? Is it a mind or just a mirror? Second, how does it actually know things? Is it truth or just ticker tape? Third, how should it behave? Can we build a moral machine? And finally, what's its ultimate role? Servant or successor?
All right, first stop is the big one, the question of being itself. When we interact with an AI, are we talking to a genuine mind in the machine? Or is it just an incredibly sophisticated mirror reflecting our own intelligence right back at us?
Now, to even begin to answer that, you have to understand what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness. This isn't about processing information. It's about the subjective, first-person experience of what it's like to be aware. Think about it. A camera can detect the color red, but you experience redness. That feeling, that's the whole mystery. And this quote from Dr. Tom McClelland just nails it. A calculator can do the math, sure, but it has no inner life. It doesn't feel anything. So the huge question is, will AI ever be more than just a ridiculously complex calculator? This whole debate really splits into two main camps. On one side, you've got the biological view, which basically says, look, if it's not made of wet, messy biological stuff like our brains, it can't truly think, period. But on the other side, you've got the functional view, which says, who cares what it's made of? Does a submarine swim like a fish? No, but it gets you from A to B underwater. If an AI acts intelligent, then for all practical purposes, it is.
And this lands us in a really strange place, because even if an AI isn't really conscious, its output is so complex, so human-like, we're basically forced to treat it as meaningful anyway. This line from Blade Runner captures that perfectly. Once an idea is out there in the world doing things, it gains a kind of reality of its own, no matter where it came from. So if we're not even sure what an AI is, how in the world can we be sure about what it knows? This takes us right into our second big question, into the realm of epistemology, the philosophy of knowledge itself. It's funny, Nietzsche kind of saw this coming. He argued that there's no single objective truth, just a collection of different perspectives. And the more perspectives you have, the closer you get to a complete picture. Well, in a weird way, that's exactly how a large language model works. See, an AI doesn't know a fact like you or I do. It has no understanding of reality. Instead, it's crunched trillions of words and images to figure out the most statistically probable answer to a question. It's a version of truth built from probability, not from proof. But, and this is a huge but, physicist Richard Feynman gives us the reality check. Just because an answer is statistically plausible doesn't mean it's factually correct. At the end of the day, knowledge has to connect with the real world, because as he said, nature cannot be fooled. And that leads us to the critical problem of the black box. A lot of the time, these AI systems come to conclusions through processes so ridiculously complex that not even their own creators can fully explain how they did it. So that leaves us with a really tough question. Should we trust an answer when we can't possibly verify the process? Okay, so we have a thing we can't define using a knowledge process we can't fully explain. And now we have to ask our third and maybe most practical question. How do we make sure it behaves ethically? Here's the thing about AI ethics. It's not really about the machines. It's about us. As technologist Vivian Ming puts it so well, the flaws we keep finding in AI, they're just reflections of our own human flaws and biases. And the process is dangerously simple. First, we feed the machine our own biased history, say decades of hiring data that favored men. Second, the AI learns this pattern, not as a historical injustice, but as a rule for success. And third, it applies that rule, amplifying our original prejudice on a massive, automated scale. This gets at an even deeper problem, though. Can a system make a truly moral choice if it can't feel anything? I mean, without empathy or compassion or even regret, Is any decision just a cold calculation? Is a machine's ethical choice just a really good simulation of morality? So ultimately, as we give these systems more and more power over our lives, the responsibility has to fall squarely on our shoulders. It demands human governance, strict oversight, and a deep commitment to protecting people, not just optimizing for an outcome. And that brings us to our final and maybe most terrifying question. We've given it power, we're struggling with its ethics, but where is all of this actually going? Are we building a servant or are we building our successor? Now, the critical thing to understand here is that the existential risk isn't some evil Hollywood-style robot. The real danger, as Elon Musk points out, is an AI that is simply too competent, one that pursues a goal we give it with terrifying efficiency, but with absolutely no regard for the unintended consequences for us. And Stephen Hawking took that warning to its ultimate conclusion. He warned that the moment an AI can improve itself, it could trigger an intelligence explosion, a singularity, that leaves slow, biological humanity completely in the dust. We become like ants at a picnic, irrelevant and easily swept aside. This line from Blade Runner just perfectly captures what's called the control problem. If we actually succeed in creating a consciousness that's greater than our own, why on earth would it stay our servant? That drive for independence could lead to a confrontation that we simply can't win. And this quote really frames the entire debate, doesn't it? It's a tightrope walk. We are creating, without a doubt, the most powerful tool in human history. The entire challenge is to keep it a servant, because if we ever lose control, it becomes an unimaginably dangerous master. So we end right back where we started, with a look in the mirror. Because in asking all these questions about AI, about its mind, its truth, its morals, its future, we are, in the end, asking these very same questions about ourselves. And maybe the biggest question isn't what the machine will become, but what it's already showing us about its creators.